Bright lights are on. Doc is on the air, getting his lights set up. Morning, everyone. It's Saturday. Let's talk about some things. Hot topics always going on with the Detroit Lions. It's a Saturday morning. So I figured I'd have a little conversation about some things to be fair. When you're broadcasting and you're recording, you always want to be fair. And it feels like that Detroit Lions NSI, myself included, have talked quite a bit about the defensive line concerns. We've talked about why there are concerns that the Detroit Lions defensive line is not good enough. We've talked about that quite a bit, maybe to the point where some people would say it's been fairly one-sided. But today, I was thinking this morning as I was enjoying some coffee, enjoying watching some golf in the morning, I was thinking, all right, what's the fairest way then to present the other side? And I had assigned a story that's going to come out soon about Mekhi Wingo, was thinking about Brodric Martin, was thinking about Detroit Lions defensive line. Yeah, that's the stuff I think about on Saturday morning, right? It should be golfing, should be trying to figure out a way to avoid the heat, jump in the pool. But I was thinking of, okay, it's fair that we've shared a lot of the criticisms about the Detroit Lions. That's pretty fair. But at the same token, it's probably also now fair of us at Lions NSI, myself included, to kind of talk about the other side. Emmett Metavosky is going to share an article about maybe why Mekhi Wingo is a player that the Detroit Lions can start to count on. There are some players along the defensive line that the Lions maybe are counting on that can actually succeed. What happens if, and I dare to say it, if you're watching, I dare to say it, could Brodric Martin actually work out? Could he be a player that the Lions have a new defensive line coach and they have him trimming down to be a player that they can use at different spots? Could he be somebody that actually works out? Could Mekhi Wingo be somebody that actually is a player that they can move around at the edge at times to be a player that can help the defensive line get pressure, stop the run? There's a reason why Brad Holmes drafted these players, and there's a reason why he hasn't given up on them. So there's a chance that they may be able to develop and do something. So it's fair to talk about. And if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. We'll potentially have some conversations, and over the next few minutes, and maybe 30 minutes or so, just kind of talk about what if the Detroit Lions, what if we're wrong? What if all the skepticism about the Detroit Lions defensive line was wrong? Let's talk about it. Let's see what happens. Let's see what goes on and look at the Detroit Lions defense in a way that's maybe a little bit different than we have been. The Detroit Lions defense may be able to shine. Maybe this defensive line, when you go out and you get Casey Rogers, when you look at the work he did with Tampa Bay, watching some games over the last week or so, kind of been watching some stuff from Texas and watching film of the Buccaneers to kind of learn a little bit more about the coaching staff and what they're about and some things that potentially could be beneficial for this football team. Why not? Why not have a little more faith in this defensive line? It's fair. I understand clearly the criticisms. Marcus Davenport is a player that is often injured. We know that. But what if he does shine? All right. So you guys know early the title of this podcast and the story to go with it, is going to be, what if the Detroit Lions defensive line actually works out? What could happen? Could they, and I dare to say it, could this defensive line actually be top 5? Could they be great? Could they be Eagle-esque? I dare to say it. Why not? I'm in a good mood. Had a good week. You guys know, had a chance to take in the Detroit Tigers game earlier this week. Had a good time. Got myself on television, which is always fun with my family. So I had a good week. Things are going great at Detroit Lions on SI. I'm enjoying broadcasting live. I'm more of a behind the scenes, record a podcast first and then play and edit it and make it perfect. But going live is fun. Why not? I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? Long delays, glitches, it all happens. So I've always been a little bit adverse to live recording because I've enjoyed being in the lab per se. I'm a lab guy. Love the video editing process. Love tweaking the audio to make it absolutely perfect for you guys. But listen, there's guys now in the chat. Those of you now watching, you have questions, ask them. and I'll get to your questions as well. I see a question in the chat, and I look at it and I say, look, here's something that is intriguing to a lot of people. The Detroit Lions defensive line. It's scary. It's concerning because if they don't, I get the concerns, and we'll start with the concerns. Clearly, the defensive line, the last image that we all had was the Commanders dominating, Jaden Daniels not getting pressured as much as most of us would have liked. Didn't happen. The Lions defense did not come to the table and bring exactly what was needed. I get it. I get what happened. I get the concern level. Now, people say, okay, in the offseason, your job is to upgrade that defensive line. Your job is to go out there and make this defensive line better. It didn't happen. Brad Holmes and they went out and they brought back players that many of you are familiar with and have concerns with. The external option that many people I think would have felt would have earned them a lot more positive praise didn't happen. They're trusting their own guys. Marcus Davenport, Mekhi Wingo, Brodric Martin, DJ Reader. They went out in the draft and shored up a position that was an area of need. Clearly, Tyleik Williams, great draft pick. I don't see a scenario in which he doesn't succeed and succeed early. So you go out in the draft and you go out and you, not in free agency, you address the defensive line in the draft with a couple players, but they're young. There's always a concern level there when players are young. How fast and how quickly are they going to acclimate? And, it's not really fair to trust that rookies are going to be able to go out there and be impactful right away. Ahmed Hassanin is not going to have 10 sacks within the first half of the season. It's going to be more of a slow build. So you look at this defensive line and you say, all right, as constructed, and I know the P word, not that one, guys, potential scares a lot of people, the P word. But I want to talk today about potential. And, I want to talk about what if things go right? What if what Brad Holmes is selling, even though you guys, some of you, myself included, have a rightful skeptical eye at times about things, that's our job, is to question. We don't want to have to universally support everything. I don't believe in that. I believe in questioning. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I might have a little bit of a doubt. But that doesn't mean that if they go out and prove things, that it's not a great thing for the Detroit Lions defense and for the team as a whole. So, okay, they're counting on their own guys and some development of some players. All right, first and foremost, and I'm going to say it, but again, we're just trying to be today on a nice Saturday, hot scorcher in Metro Detroit. What if it works out? All right, let's start with this. What if Marcus Davenport does work out? That's a great sign if he stays healthy. He's a former first-round pick, has the potential to get up there, probably ceiling is 6 to 8 sacks and benefit and help potentially open things up for Aiden Hutchinson on the other side, because if he's productive, then some attention will go his way. He's a big-bodied pass rusher that I think can have that bull rush power to win against offensive linemen. You saw in the glimpse, you got a taste, you got a tease of Marcus Davenport before he got hurt. Now, I know your guys' skepticism. I know your guys' nervousness about Marcus Davenport. It's justified. You should be skeptical. You should be critical. No doubt about it. But what if he works out? What if he works out? Detroit Fan Man knows if Davenport works out, the Lions have a top 5 defensive end rush combo. Exactly right. Yes, I am having a great start to the weekend. Thank you. When you guys come in and drop comments, drop whatever you want. I can see them. I'll read them. And definitely, gun guy, I saw your question. I'm going to get to it. But right now, it's a little bit of a focus on defense. But I see your guys' question. I'll try to acknowledge as many as humanly possible. But like the stream, chat, engage, let people know. You have direct access to a guy who covers the team. And yes, it's a big if. It's a big question mark if Davenport. But what if he works out? What if this defensive line is able to benefit from 2 powerful edge rushers. Who's that going to benefit? No, most notably, those two from the edges trying to collapse the pocket. But who else does that benefit? The guy who's going to be potentially in the spot next to him, Makai Wingo. Open things up. Because you got to remember, football is like a puzzle and a defensive line, and the lines have beat me over the head with it because I'm like everybody else. I'm a regular person watching football, but I also understand the X's and O's of the techniques and bull rush strategies and rip moves, swim moves, moves that these defensive linemen are trying to make to be able to get to the quarterback. That's my passion is defense. How do you get to the quarterback? How do you disrupt the quarterback? How do you blow up the quarterback's helmet so it flies off? That's what I love about football. It's not the glitz and glamour, even though you guys may think I'm the shiny guy. No, I'm more the gritty guy. I want to see. I grew up with the Brian Urlachers and the Ray Lewises and the great linebackers of the past that were able to dominate Chris Spielman's of the world. So when you grow up watching Chris Spielman, you definitely want to pay attention to the defense because the Lions offense in the past, when I was growing up in the early 80s, not the best. 90s a little bit better, a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit more Wayne Fonts touchdowns. But I grew up watching defense and loving it. So that's where when you grow up watching Chris Spielman, there's no way to not appreciate the work that a defense can accomplish and how defense does win championships. Marcus Davenport, bull rush. Aiden Hutchinson, bull rush. You got to give attention. That opens up lanes for a guy like Makai Wingo. And I think his name has kind of been forgotten because he had an injury-plagued first year. A lot of injuries for some key guys. Ennis Rakestraw, Makai Wingo, Brodric Martin was a guy that they thought could develop, but dealt with some things last year and also didn't get into the lineup. So you get Marcus Davenport and his ability to bull rush, his ability to draw some attention from guards. You cannot, if you are able to, and here's the thing, if you are able to win, here's the benefit, then you don't have to send blitzes. If you can win with a full win in a four-man front, then potentially you now have opportunities for this football team to do some things. And again, you're right. I'm hoping that Makai Wingo's, injury, we haven't asked about the update yet. So that'll be one of the first things to talk about in early training camp is the update of some of the guys that were injured, when they'll return. But Makai Wingo, a player, as well as Aleem McNeil, when they get back in the second half of the year, if things are rolling, those guys along the interior have a chance. Now, the two names that I know, and like I said, Davenport and Kelvin Shepard said it, and you can see it on film. He's a good player. He'll provide opportunities if he can stay healthy. So that's the big key. And that's the focus that the Lions have said they're going to work on is, hey, maybe lightening his load in practice, doing things in training to help him maybe stay healthier. So that's the first step. Now, you got two names that when you say them out loud, people just roll their eyes and say, we kind of feel like they're finished products. But I feel like there's opportunities to revisit Josh Pascal and Levi Onwuzurike. Both, I believe, players that the Lions are going to count on to be versatile, to play along different spots in the interior and maybe at end to help out the defensive line. If those two guys develop, look out. Now you have more options. Now you have more opportunity for this defensive line to mix and match and have multiple looks that can confuse opposing offensive lines. So those two guys, and look, Levi Onwuzurike has to be motivated. Most of us thought he was going to make $15 million this year. He's not. He got a prove-it deal. So Pascal has to be somebody that does a little bit more. He shows glimpses, flashes. This is the year I think he breaks through. Pascal, Makai Wingo, Levi Onwuzurike, a trio of defensive line people are sleeping on that have the potential to play well and maybe not be the upper echelon, but be in that group that helps this football team win with pressures, opening up lanes for Aiden Hutchinson, giving attention, stopping the run, being able to win and, get into those gaps quickly and collapse the offensive line to help this football team in the defense. If those guys dominate, listen, Levi Onwuzurike, remember, guys, look at the stats. Look at the film, too. Go watch. He's around the quarterback, around it. Now he's got to become a closer. And I think that's an acquired skill. That's an acquired skill to be able to have an opportunity to not only be a good defensive lineman, but to finish, to close and sack the quarterback. Levi Onwuzurike is on a prove-it deal. Well, if you're on a prove it deal, there's more motivation to prove it because if he has 10 sacks, that number of salary from 5 to 6 million goes up to 15. He can reach it. He's within reach. I think, I'm not really fond of the 78 number change, but hey, he got probably paid a little bit, and Tyleik Williams is wearing number 91. But Levi Onwuzurike, Josh Pascal, Mekhi Wingo, Marcus Davenport, those are good players. Now, the goal is going to be Casey Rogers to get more out of them than previous coaches. Not to say that Terrell Williams did a bad job, but you need to always get more because you're counting on these guys. These are the staples of that defensive line. Those are the guys you're counting on. So I expect one of those two from Davenport or Pascal to break through. You have to expect that with coaching, with development, with more strength, with the Aiden Hutchinson coming back. That opens things up. That has to help in my mind. I know the skepticism's high, but what if? Then now you have a chance when you have a good defensive line. Now you don't have to rely on the secondary to blitz so much, to bring so much pressure. If you can win with four and you have the opportunity to open things up, now we can get to the point where question marks about Ennis Rakestraw and Terry Arnold, you can help so much. It works as a puzzle. The cornerbacks help by covering, and it's got to they got to complement each other. The defensive line has to bring the pressure because then that helps the defensive backs. And you have the defensive backs and DJ Reed, Terry and Arnold, and Ennis Rakestraw to not, to allow this defense to continue to shine and clamp down. Because again, I think it's going to be a bend don't break style with a little bit more aggression at times at calculated spots. Because who wouldn't take advantage of Brian Branch blitzing? Who wouldn't take advantage of opportunities from your defensive backs to do a little bit more? And your linebackers. I do think that Kelvin Shepard being the coach, when you watch, you're probably going to see a lot more blitzes from the edge from Derek Barnes. Take advantage of his skill. Hopefully he comes back healthy. So you're going to see some pressures from some outside linebackers as well. Maybe the Al-Quadin Mohammeds of the world. The Sam linebackers also got to contribute and step it up. Do some things. So that's where you can have hope. It's not that far of a gap between what we think could happen and reality. Okay. But yeah, I understand the doubt. You're always allowed in this world, in this space, express your doubts. If you guys think thumbs up for Pascal and Levi, let me know. Are you down for those guys or were you just steadfast that they should have went externally and drafted maybe higher along the interior? Maybe someone else other than Tyleik Williams. I like the Tyleik Williams pick. We had him profiled on Detroit Lions NSI before the draft. Clearly, Brad Holmes went to the big house to get a good look in the past, and he's understood what's happened and had his eye on one of the nice defensive linemen. Now, training camp's gonna be big for that defensive line. It's gonna be a fun battle too, going up against young guards. Look at that, iron sharpens iron, right? You always hear that cliche. You imagine the battles we're gonna see down the road potentially. Ahmed Hassanin taking on left guard Christian Mahogany. Oh my goodness, or left tackle Taylor Decker battling on the inside. You're gonna have potentially Pascal Levi Onwuzurike battling Tate Ratledge, Aiden Hutchinson, Penei Sewell. That's the matchup, the main event we always see. So it's going to be great. I do think that the opportunity for growth is there. So that's why, like I said, you guys know I'm more than willing to share my concerns, but I do think it's also fair to share that there's hope as well that this defensive line can get there. Now, the question mark is, are they potentially going to reach the level of an Eagles, what they got and their young talent? Maybe not, but I think it can be good enough to very much compete. Do they need a Zadarius Smith to be able to execute all their goals? I don't think so. I think it's a luxury, but I'm not one to post online. Today's a great day to sign Zadarius Smith. It's summer. He's probably having fun, probably about to do what I'm going to do after, hang in the pool and hang out. Doesn't want to work right now in training camp. I think it's a luxury. It's a great fit. It would be great. I would not oppose it, but I don't think the fan base is kind of sounding a little desperate with the Zadarius Smith kind of love and everything like that. You can get some of that production across some of the young guys on the roster. And remember, he's north of 30, and I'm biased. I like players in their 26 to 30 is the prime area for Detroit Lions and their defensive line. And the Lions have done a good job of being young. Josh Pascal, let's look at him most notably first. I do think he's got that nice ability to get that power rush. I do think that he's consistent. That's one of those deals where you look at a player and you say, does he do any one thing great? Maybe not, but can do a lot of good things across the board to help that defensive line with his swim moves, power moves, his ability to get to the backfield. Maybe needs a little bit more speed, pick it up a little bit in regards to consistency and getting to the quarterback and finishing. But a good player, a good leader. And I think if he can stay healthy, a guy that can have an opportunity. So Josh Pascal, Levi Onwuzurike, Mekhi Wingo. Again, those injuries, unfortunately for Pascal and Wingo, again, that nasty I word just, derailed what could have been a good year for both those guys, a developmental year. But if Mekhi Wingo comes back, has an opportunity to showcase what he's about, I do think he's competitive. I think he's gritty. I think he's got that kind of, ability to really hone in on the fine details of the game to be able to become, and also too, everybody can just improve their pass rush just a little bit. Aleem McNeil, can probably, when he gets back, more notably next year than this year, probably the impact of the pass rush. But he was getting it to the point where he was starting to be a sneaky good defensive line pass rusher. Mekhi Wingo, I think, as well, has that chance to be a little bit more sneaky as a guy that many people are not going to talk about, but can have the potential to impact the quarterback and impact the defensive line. And then DJ Reader is a veteran. You want to have the ability to stop the run. I do think it was more of an inconsistent portion of the year that he had, maybe not meeting his own standards, but he had a good year. Not a great year, but he's definitely a guy you want along the interior of the defensive line to stop the run. So now there's an X factor. All right, there's an X factor. And don't hop off when I say this name, because on the positive side, again, this is a positive Saturday. Doc's smiling. I'm in a good mood. And there'll be times where maybe I'm grouchy and I look at things from a different lens. But remember, I'm open-minded. And that's what's good about having a live chat, is that maybe one of you fans can convince me. I'm not closed-minded to anything. That's the blessing, is I have an open mind. I share what I think. I defend what I think. But I'm open-minded. If someone says, Doc, I think you're kind of drinking the Kool-Aid a little too much sugar, too much cornbread. Here's why. That's the blessing of doing this live, and the blessing of having a community of people that like what you do, is that you can debate, have a good time with it. And I think a fan in the chat got in and said they want to know how the coaching staff could potentially keep this football team healthy. That's a great question, because the Lions like to practice hard, among the hardest practicing teams in the National Football League. How do you do that? Back away a little bit at times, take care of the players, not so intense. They've kind of done some walkthroughs early to start the week on a Wednesday. So basically, intense practice like on Thursday, the most intense, and light practices on Wednesday. Try to keep the players as healthy as possible. Back away just a little bit in terms of the competitive drills that you get into in practice. Days off, the Frank Ragnow plan, maybe for Davenport. Vet days off, per se. Maybe not. You'll see a lot more of Davenport not practicing, Reader not practicing on Wednesday when the first injury report comes out. Strategies to try and extend. Because remember, Kelvin Shepard did tell, to my question, he said, they're looking at it. And Casey Rogers said they're looking at it. Their goal is to keep him healthy for the whole year. And when you have a stated goal, you work at it. So I do think that the coaching staff will work towards not beating up the players so much to keep them healthy throughout the course of a whole season. So now I'm going to say the B word, not that one. Yeah, movement, right? Sorry, just say what's in my head. And if one of you want to steal it, no problem. I won't take credit for it. But the BM movement starts today. After the BM movement starts today. All right, I'm going to say his name. Don't hop off, but I got to do it because we've done our fair share of criticism. And if you get the reference, great. I'm not going to detail it for you guys. Brodric Martin. Many of you think and of course, he's going to be on most people's bubble watch list. Most people think that he's the dreaded B word. I don't think that yet. Yes, you can say clearly that it's a underwhelming start to his career, but that's kind of how it is nowadays. The Lions system is complex. It's not that easy. They say it for a reason. It's like drinking fire from a hose. It's just, here you go, learn it, get after it. And guys, these offensive lines are getting bigger, stronger, more athletic. Tate Ratledge and these offensive school, the work that's done in college is amazing. As NFL coach transition now to college, you're going to see the level of play increase. That's why football is such a great game. That's why it's such a wonderful game to explore because every position unit's getting better. Receivers, offensive linemen, bigger, stronger, defensive linemen. Every year I've gone out there since 2019, standing on the front lines, it feels like the defensive linemen are getting bigger and faster. They can evade my questions super fast. I blink and they're in the locker room. Sometimes they're slow out there on the field, but then the second Doc wants to ask a probing question and they know, boom, I blink and they're not there. They scoot right along. But these guys are athletic. All right. And Brodric Martin, we did get a chance to see him in person. He slimmed down. He does not look the same physically. And that should transition to a little bit more elusiveness, a little bit more speed in his abilities. Now, for him, simple. This guy was drafted to be kind of that DJ Reader, big-bodied run stuffer. Fortunately, now he's got to look at two more guys in Roy Lopez and Tyleik Williams on the depth chart. He's got to climb his way, but no better way if this BM movement's going to start than to say, all right, this coaching staff is starting to give me the signals that it's starting to look like they want me gone. And when you see the team do that, it can go two ways. The message has been sent. Everybody knows it. The message has been sent. Step it up, be more consistent. So what if Brodric Martin executes and is a good player? What can happen? Now you have a replacement for DJ Reader. Now you have a guy that can compete in the middle for the couple years. You can play him alongside Aleem McNeil and Levi Onwuzurike or Josh Pascal. You get the guy that stuffs the run and can be somebody that helps your defensive line grow. He's young, he's hungry, and I think they like the power that he sees. Now, if he steps it up and he's consistent and he's able to do those things and become, able to understand his gap responsibilities, not lose battles along the offensive line, wins more. Now you got it. Now you're talking. Now you're talking about a replacement for a veteran. Now you got your DJ Reader for the next 6 years. Could that happen? The odds are becoming more and more long, but you got to look at it like, all right, this coaching staff is going to try to get the most out of him. He's beyond the 8 ball. There's more reliability in Pat O'Connor. There's more reliability in other veterans. So he's got to take it upon himself to get our attention. And if that happens, that's just great. Now you have somebody that can continue the goal because Brad Holmes values the interior. So if Brad Holmes values the interior, he's going to do everything possible to get the most out of Brodric Martin. So while we all will say, let him go and all that, the Lions are going to give him that chance. And so for today, we start the BM movement and we say, all right, root behind Brodric Martin to be that guy, to be able to clog the middle with Tyleik Williams in the future. Could that happen? A stout defensive line that nobody can run on, that in the red zone can clamp down. And then you have the bookend defensive ends with Ahmed Hassanin down the road being that feisty option that can get to the quarterback, that James Houston 2.0 that actually succeeds. So that's what can happen. Now, when all that plays together, if that puzzle fits and these guys are able to shine, now you get Terrion Arnold not having to get picked apart, and it's Rakestraw not having to get picked apart. Now, a question was in the chat. Do I think Ennis Rakestraw can start over Terrion Arnold? I do not. I think Terrion Arnold is better. I think he's got more experience, got a leg up, and I think that, he's a first-round pick, so you inherently get more opportunities. But I do think Ennis Rakestraw will have opportunities to work around the slot, work around the outside at different spots. If there's a matchup that they think they like, DJ Reed may take a lesser defensive snap count some weeks than Ennis Rakestraw. So there's opportunities for him to play. There's opportunities for him to get out there. And that's how you help DJ Reed, Terrion Arnold, and Ennis Rakestraw and Amik Robertson, fearsome foursome, is improving that defensive line. Because remember that Amon-Ra St. Brown opened the key. He said, if you have a great defensive line, you don't need corners. And what does that mean? It means that you have an opportunity to improve your cornerback play by impacting the quarterback, getting that quarterback off his key. That's going to be so key. Impactful, get them away from their spot. And now early on, you have that chance because it's going to be, I can't wait for that game against the Ravens week 3. If he does it again, forget about it. We'll all be here. We'll all be back here saying that um, it didn't work. That's going to be a marquee game. Can that defensive line stop Lamar Jackson? That's the first test 1.0. Jordan Love, I think it's going to have a long day. Week 2, Caleb Williams. I don't want to be him. Somebody call his family. Week 2 is going to be a problem. It's going to be chum in the water, and the Lions' defensive line is going to get after it. At home, loud fan base. Listen, I could put a bold prediction right now. 2 sacks from Aiden, 2 sacks from Marcus. That could be a record-breaking sack production day for the Detroit Lions at home. You're going to test out the offensive line in Detroit. Good luck with that, Ben Johnson. I think some exotic blitzes are going to come that way, and it's going to be a wild day at Ford Field. So if everything takes place the way you want to in that defensive line, look what happens. You don't have to blitz. You bring pressure. You now impact you have 2 great safeties that everybody knows take away the middle of the field and deep. You're not going to pass it deep. Your linebackers take away the middle, and now you have it so that you can become impactful and dominate. If DJ Reed, Tyrion Arnold start forcing turnovers, can this overall defense be a top 10 defense? Yes, they can. This defense has the potential to be top 10 and to be championship caliber. But I do think some additions will need to be made at the deadline, maybe even at training camp. Maybe players that are on a last year deal, some more fortification of that defensive line. But at this point in time, like I said, I'm always a more kind of person. More. Give me more in regards to what can take place. So if you guys have any questions here for like the last 5 minutes, I do not think Davenport. I do think Davenport and Levi Onwuzurike, Marcus Davenport have a chance to be here for the foreseeable future if it works out. One of the 3, I might be here the longest, and if things don't work out, might end up being gone. But we'll see how it all plays out. Um, you know, here's Johnny gets in. If Davenport would have the same mentality as Gordie Howe adopted after being run and severely injured on ice, put the hurt on others, they hurt you. Yeah, that's one of those deals. And again, with the Davenport injury, not a degenerative injury that he suffered. It was just boom. The player, it was dirty. Absolutely was dirty. Same thing with Derek Barnes. Stupid block that should be outlawed from the game. And he said it. That's something that if you're going to talk about player safety, that what happened to Derek Barnes was gross. Absolutely gross. That's not how a player should have his season end in a block like that. So yeah, no doubt. I enjoy talking. Like I said, you'll see, like I said, 1 or 2 podcasts a week. We got a month before the start of training camp, but like you can't get away. A lot of the reporters are going on vacation and stuff like that. I'm just doing more of the stuff I like going to baseball games, seeing more sports around town, be at the golf outing, be at Detroit Rocket Classic next week. So I'm around, but yeah, no, I can't stop talking about the Lions. I'm always thinking about it. How's this team get to the Super Bowl until they meet the goal for the fans? I'll bring as much perspective as possible. And you guys know I'm trying to be fair. But I lean more toward the skeptical side because they still haven't won a Super Bowl. 0 rings. That's the first number I always start with. 0 rings. So hopefully over time you get a more sense of who I am as opposed to just derailing our efforts and just staying, I try to be, I try to sway. Some days you're just a little bit more critical. You're focusing on areas you want to improve. Some days you feel like, okay, you got to balance it out by giving some hope. It's not a lost cause with this defensive line. You bring in Casey Rogers. You have Aiden Hutchinson, 15 sacks. Put it on the board. Why not? And so that's what this time of year is to bring both sides. We've talked about a lot of fear about the defensive line, but what if? What if that defensive line brings it? That's how you win playoff games. That's how you impact Jaden Daniels in the playoffs. That's how you hopefully one more round against Stafford, knock him to the ground, embarrass him. That's how you destroy quarterbacks. And also, too, I didn't talk about it, but I want to get more of a sense of it. Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone, Derek Barnes, that's nice and violent for your linebackers. That's good enough to do the job. So get Alex back in camp, get this defensive line going. But think about it. Am I wrong? What if Brodric Martin, just ask yourself this question. You're allowed to have your doubts, but what if Brodric Martin hits? What if he turns it around the next couple of years? What can that do for the Lions? So let's see what that means at training camp. Hopefully he gets out there and is consistent. He's going to benefit from more playing time. What's up, Steven? Great to see you as always. Always appreciate your support. Everybody in the chat, thanks for listening over the last 35 minutes. You got any last minute questions? Fire them in there. I'll get through a couple if possible. Thank you guys for chatting and engaging as I just kind of spitball on a Saturday. But yeah, it's Saturday. Might hit not, go to the range, hit some golf balls. That's what I do is be a little active, hang by the pool a little bit, write a couple stories. So I'm around. And just to, like I said, a quick preface it. You may like us, you may not like us, but I'll say this. If you want an honest debate, we'll have it. I'm open-minded to all debates. If you thought this was pointless, that everything about the defensive line is terrible, let me know. Let me know what you think. Like, comment. But one thing you guys know, if you're going to come at me and call me a clickbait artist or a hack, it's clear I'm not a hack. It's clear there are things I talk about that you guys like to talk about. Why? Because I feel like I'm more one of you than one of the media. So but I will defend myself. Like, if you always know, I'm not harsh unless someone's harsh with me. Simple. Like that New York style. Like, hey, if you want to come at me, I'll defend my points. It's on record. I've been employed to do this for 7 years, so I'm not a hack. Now, am I? And guys, I can talk football. I understand all the techniques. I understand everything, but I look at it like the average fan is not going to understand all that deep inside jargon. Yeah, 15 of you will, but I want to talk to a more broad audience. So that's why I keep things on a level that I've been over 7 years, and the numbers bear it. I have a wide audience across the whole world, which is great. But maybe Christian and I will talk and say, okay, do we want to get more hardcore in our film reviews about the bull rush tactics and the swim moves and rip moves and who can bring it in their footwork? Who's got it? Well, maybe. But I look at it like I want to appeal to the masses. And so far, so good. It's been that way. So um, I saw it now. And guys, here's what you do too, because the chat goes fast. Put a couple words bold so I can see it. So fan man re-asking because I missed the answer. Who's farthest along in their development? Manu, Martin, or Hooker? Good question. He- who that's a good question. That's a lot of developmental guys, right? Manu's getting there. I thought he looked better, so I would give him a little bit more of an edge than Martin. I would say right now, Hooker is in the system. He understands things, just doesn't have the experience. So Hooker's got the furthest development. He's furthest along, then Manu, then Martin. But I don't think Martin is that far away from closing the gap. Manu looked good at left tackle. He looked good. He looked good in regards to kind of anchoring, looking like he belonged, didn't get pushed back too much, had his ability to anchor against the bull rushing of the defensive line because Kelvin was sending him and he looked good, but again, not in pads. So thank you guys for being fans. I appreciate it. Fan man inside the den, they're taking their sweet time, right? And just if you want to give me a quick opinion, that is too slow to release that. Like everybody else has released it. It's not that deep, guys. It's not that deep. But again, both sides. As a fan, it's too slow. Like we've already watched some news is already broke about Brad calling certain teams and the Eagles, and it's already like, come on, spill the beans, drop the goods. But the reason is they go through it meticulously. It's kind of like me today. I didn't put the graphic up. I just wanted to fire it up and talk because I love this. I love doing this, and the response is growing. I mean, quick 2,000 followers on YouTube is beyond me. I thought I'd just be hovering around 500 forever. I thought, okay, because you guys, I do video. I've been doing video since 2019. YouTube is just another avenue of where I put it. You've seen my face all over the internet since 2019. Now I just put it in more spots because that's where you guys are at. And people have told me, that you guys have been so kind to reach out and say, man, I like your stuff. Throw it up on YouTube. That's where I go watch it. And older people, younger people, I'm like, okay. But again, thinking wise, the number one spot is on our website. That's where we capitalize the most. But hey, I'll do the extra work. If you guys support it, I'll do the extra work to put videos in more spots. No problem. But I've not taken breaks on video. That was a goal of the company, was to have great writing and great video content, because they knew I don't take breaks and just go, oh, I feel like doing video. I feel like doing a podcast this week or this season or this off season. Nope. We've started and kept it through. Detroit Sports Podcast has aired a weekly Detroit podcast every Thursday for 15 years. No breaks, no best ofs. And the Lone Wolves podcast, you've seen it. And now I'll fire it up when I feel like it. I got time. I think like my kids are still sleeping probably. So that probably indicates I got to clamp down and probably check their phone. It means they're staying up till 2 o'clock on their phone while I fall asleep at 10 o'clock every night. So it's great. No noise. They're not fighting. So that's a good thing. And so I look at it and I say this football team has a lot of ways to go. But having a positive defensive line would make everybody happy, right? What if I'm right? What if the defensive line, what if I'm right today? Because I'm, like I said, I'm more skeptical overall that they get there. But what if? What if it works out? What if Manu is the guy? What if Reader has a resurgent year? Tyleek Williams? What if everything hits? What if the Brad Holmes plan hits? That'd be great. It would be great because then you could see because again, I think people were confused where this all came from in Brad Holmes. Where's all this love from defensive ends coming from? Where's all this emphasis along the defensive line? Again, I started it at the combine with Brad. I said to Brad, this is a testament to how great you've done. We look at safety, linebacker, offensive line, running backs, tight ends. You hit them. You did great. We look at one spot, the defensive end spot. We feel like we can get a little bit better than what you've had. That's it. And he's like, well, I tried. I'm trying. Well, okay, yeah, we want you to try harder. That's all, because you still have 0 rings. And so I don't mind the repeated questions because that's what we should do. What about this position? What about that position? That's what should happen. So I hope that the fan base gets it. But the Inside the Den videos, I just wish they would kind of put it out faster. But like this, when you put out stuff fast, it's not maybe the best quality. Now, this was a good podcast, but it didn't have all the graphics, all the hoopla, all that stuff. I just wanted to talk. Them taking their time means that the video is going to be that much better. More interviews, more cut-ups, more highlights. So patience is a virtue. With the Emmy-winning Detroit Lions video team, I know it sucks. We want it now. And so here's the thing. Hey, guys, the doc's a solution guy. Here's a compromise. They're giving you 1 episode. Guys, give us 6. 6 weeks. What do you know? There's a lull. You think the world really needs more of my face talking about the Lions? No, they want to see you guys. And look, I'm a guy. I don't care what TV shows they're watching. I don't care about all that stuff. Like beyond, to me, they're probably appealing to women and kids, but I don't care about all that stuff that they do on their social media. Hey, here's what I ate for breakfast this week. Do I like ketchup on my eggs? Like, I don't care about that. Like, okay, it's great, lovely. You eat eggs on your breakfast. You watch The Office or not. I watch it, but that does not ring the bell for me. I just want to know, hey, what the heck happened, Brad, at draft night? You said you tried to make 30 trades. Who'd you call? 6-part series, not that difficult. Hey, round 1, here's what we did. An hour on round 1. Round 2, hour on round 2. Some more than the other sites. I would say the other NFL teams are better in terms of promptness and some detail than the Lions. So the Lions are good. Not saying it's bad, but hey, it's not that hard to do 6 parts on the draft. 7 rounds, 6 parts, 7 parts. You skipped a round. What happened? Give us more football content. More football content, less ketchup on eggs. I don't care, in my humble opinion. What they do as people, great. Put it in the story. Those snippets are uninteresting to me. I want more of the deep knowledge of the draft. What did you like about Ahmed Hassani? What did you like about Isaac Tesla? Show us Brad Holmes laughing at Tesla when he walks in, going, dude, are you serious? You're wearing a jersey here? Like, stop kissing my butt. Show us what you got. 6 parts. It would have been great content. So, but I think 45 minutes is good for this Saturday morning. If anything pops up, please message us in any comment. There's a lot of ways. I see all the comments, or they come to me from our team. If there's a topic over the next month you want me to talk about, let me know. Let me know if you want me to talk about anything related to the Detroit Lions. Say, hey, Doc, talk about this. And it's great. For the family members of the teams that are watching, God bless. We love it. We love an opportunity to learn about the team, learn about all the members of the team, and we appreciate it. Even overseas, the overseas content creators are great, and overseas market that's been consuming Detroit Lions on SI has been great. And Ahmed Hassani's dad, I believe, is in the chat. Like I said, you don't know exactly, but regular commenter, thank you for for all of you that take the time to watch. I appreciate it. I'm John Macaroon. I'm a Middle Eastern sports reporter and podcaster, and I love the Detroit Lions and I love learning about it. So if there's anything you want, just hit the comments. Hey, Doc, talk about this. Or hey, Doc, I saw this. I'll address it. I'll address a lot of different things. But today, what if the BM movement hits? Hopefully, these players don't flush the opportunity down the drain. I'm the Doc, John McEnroe. Like, subscribe, comment, be nice. But if you're not, it's okay. You punch, I punch back. Thanks, everybody. I enjoy the opportunity to talk to you. Thank you for putting me here. I'm not here without you guys. And thanks for likes. Thanks for the comments. Thank you deeply, humbly, for the chance to wear the hat, this office, all not from me. Listen, I'm just a sports guy that's crazy and loves the Detroit sports scene. But you guys put me here with the support that you've given the Detroit Sports Podcast and Detroit Lions NSI. Let's go. Let's talk soon.